So 10.1 is about sequences and series. Now, sequences is just an ordered list of numbers, and this part of ordered is extremely important. So if you look at this as a set of orders in numbers, I like to use this example. So you have these numbers. The numbers are ordered. The first number here would be 4, 28, 9, 27, 12, 44, well, let's call that 6, 16, and 22. This is called finite, the total number of terms here, or the total number of players. So when we're talking about this sequence has this very special notation. And the notation is really important. It is a to the n, where the n is and identifies the place in line. So this term has, and in this case, I say n is equal to 9, and that's because it has 9 players. So the ordered list would be A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, and A9, where the number at the bottom again is the place in line. So A1 is equal to 4. Those are all equal to each other. But the bottom number, that subscript, remember, it's just the place in line. And that's really important when we're talking about, and that subscript is always equal to the number of terms. The first term is always called A1. The last term is always called A to the nth. So with this question, I'm going to define an is equal to 3 a to the n minus 1. And I'm going to tell you that a1 is equal to 2. The question will be to find the first 4 terms. Now let's make sure we talk about what all of this means. So the 1 here, that means 2 is the first term. So that 1 just means it's the first term in place. Now what we have to do is we have to find A2, A3, and A4. That will give me the 4 terms. Now, the only way you can do this, and the idea of recursively means that you have to find the next one. So if I want to go through and find, in this case, A2, then over here, this is 3A. That n minus 1, that means 2 minus 1, or the first term. So you are relying upon the previous term to find this. So A2 is just equal to 3 times A1, and A1 is 2. So that tells me A2 is 6. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this idea that that first term is there, because I want to make sure you see that what I'm talking about is the first term is A1. The second term is A2, which is equal to 6. To find A3 then, I need A2, 3 times the previous term, which is A2, which in this case is 6. So A3 is equal to 18. And the last one, A4, is just 3 again, times the previous term. The previous term is A3, and A3 is 18. So therefore A4 is equal to 54. So this is the idea of recursive, which means to find the next term, I need the previous term, which is fine in a lot of cases, but what if I wanted you to find the 100th term and I didn't want to go through to find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 99. So recursively means I have to have the previous term to get there. All right, so this is another recursive definition, and this is what I was talking about before. I only need to find the 4th term and the 11th term, but I'm only given A1, and I'm not given any other way to find it. So how do I find A2? A2 is just 11. Now I'm minusing 5. So that gives me 6. Now to go ahead and find A3, again, I need that previous term. So that previous term is 6 minus 5, which gives me 1. I want to go ahead and find A4. I need that previous term, A3. So that's 1 minus 5, which equals -4. So that's one of the answers that I need. So now I found that one, the 4th term, and the way I would write that again is A4, the 4th term, is equal to -4. Now just go ahead and keep up the pattern. If you've noticed, what I did here is I made sure that each time I was just going through and subtracting 5. So that's all we're doing. So if I'm looking at that pattern, what is this pattern that's going on? So that pattern started out, my first term was 11, then 6, then 1, then -4, then all I'm doing here again is the pattern. And that pattern says each time I am subtracting 5. So the next pieces in the sequence are, the series, are -9, -14, -19, and -24. Now, what are these terms? This is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, or A8, which again means the 8th term. We're not done yet. We have to keep going. But if we're going to find the 11th term, we have to keep going. So you can see why having to do this every single time is a little difficult, because you have to have the previous term. So the next term, I subtract 5 and I get -29, then -34, -39. Now we have everything we need, because this is the 9th term, the 10th term, and the 11th term. So your two answers are that A4 is equal to -4 and A11 is equal to -39.